750 trainer along with the Garmin Pilot iPad app. I fly Comanche 250 in real life and thought flight sim enthusiasts might want a perspective on flying a basic RNAV approaches and IFR work in the sim in the Comanche. So that's what we're doing here. We're level at 5,000, direct Charleston from Hilton Head, and we're going to just again, purpose of this, we're concentrating on the procedural and some of the how to fly the airplane aspect of it. So we're not going to use any in-sim or external air traffic control. We're going to assume the mixture in props are being handled more normally like you would in a real flight. We're basically going to use the throttle to fly our approaches here. I really like flying with Garmin GTN equipment. I really wish A2A would come out with a G5 attitude indicator and HSI upgrade, and this would match pretty closely my own airplane. Garmin Pilot makes a great companion in your flying. Use it as electronic flight bag, captures all the approach charts and everything else. So again, we're going to be using that here in a minute. So if we're cruising along, just to give us something scenic, I wanted to also pick an RNAV approach with some scenery. So we're going to expect the RNAV Yankee runway 33 into Charleston, which is going to drop us on the transition pretty close to Fort Sumter, and then into the bay and harbor and on to the airport. So with this, let's just assume ATC just told us to maintain 5,000, direct DASI, maintain 5,000 till DASI, cleared RNAV Yankee 33 approach. So first thing we're going to do is we can go into our GTN to the procedures. We're going to load the approach. So we're looking for 33 Yankee LPV. Sim, unfortunately, when you move attention out of the box, sort of takes over control. I could be using the autopilot here, but I'm not. Alright, transition. We're going to do the DASI transition, and we're going to load and activate. That's important, because now we're going to get steering to the waypoint. Direct track to DASI 70, so we do need to adjust. And again, this is where if we had G5s, the OBS would actually automatically adjust for us. In this case, even though the needle will be right no matter what heading you have set, on the OBS you want to go ahead and set it correctly so that you're not confusing yourself. Alright, so we're 26 miles to go. We're at assigned heading. So we'll go ahead now and set this approach up in the iPad app as well. And really, in the iPad app, there's two places you want to do this. You want to go into your flight plan. At your destination, we're going to add procedure, select approach, Yankee 33, DASI transition, load and activate. So now if we go back to the map, again, here we can see, as expected, we've got the same information loaded. The new version of Garmin Pilot, it's really nice. The transition altitudes now are actually shown on the map with each of the waypoint names. So we can see that, again, up ahead at Shrimp, we've got an adder above 3,000. Gator, which is the final approach fix, 2,000, and then on in. Now, this is a good time to go ahead and look at the actual approach plate itself. So we've been maintained 5,000 till DASI. After that, we can descend to 3,000 if we want. Leaving Shrimp, we could descend further. Since this is this has vertical guidance, our plan is going to be ready to intercept the glide slope between Shrimp and Gator. And and just follow it down. So rather than descending at shrimp, we're going to hold altitude and capture the glide slope. Minimums on this approach, this is ILS almost category, 245 feet, which is basically a 200-foot minimum, half a mile viz. Fairly straightforward missed approach, climb to 3,000 direct, may, and hold. In the Comanche, I usually plan about 5 nautical miles for every 1,000 feet we need to lose. So if we wanted to cross shrimp at 3,000, that means we'd want to start down about 10 miles out. Now the leg length is actually only 8, so that just tells me we're going to need to come down just a touch faster. So as we cross, we want to not delay, get the power back, and start our started glide down to 3,000 feet. Because we're coming on a feeder route, this is a no procedure turn, so we're not going to be doing a course reversal. These are fly by, not fly over waypoints. So again, as we get close to shrimp, the GPS actually going to tell us to turn ahead, basically curve ourselves on a standard rate turn onto the next leg. Again, that turn anticipation is going to depend a lot on your airspeed. So this one's an almost 90-degree turn. Again, we might want to be thinking about how we want our speed coming into that to not overshoot. And again, to be ready to capture the glide slope. Airplane at this point, I'd also be filling out a little approach card that has the final approach course, the minimums, the missed approach procedure, frequencies for tower and ground. Clip it to my kneeboard, just so again you're not rooting around for other information that you might need in critical phases of flight. Your cockpit organization, super important. Single pilot, dual pilot, still important, just in understanding responsibilities and who's doing what. Now again, on the Garmin iPad app, you do have the option to load the georeferenced approach plate. Generally speaking, that's not my preference. I like to keep the traditional plate view. That might be a little old school. You can really do it either way, but I do like that the plate will show your current position on the plate once you've flown within the bounds of the plate for additional situational awareness. Another thing you might notice on the GTN, I keep the estimated time en route to the next waypoint, and then I use the estimated time to destination on my iPad. So that way I can quickly always know not only how long till the next waypoint, but also, relatively speaking, how long left in the flight, which is of course really important for fuel management. Up on 5 minutes to the initial approach fix and about 14 minutes estimated to touchdown. You can actually see on the iPad map that the curved white line ahead of shrimp. So again, it's already doing that that turn anticipation and depicting that we'll be starting our turn before the waypoint. You can also see on the 750 TOD, or top of descent, the defaults in the 750 assume a 3-degree glide slope, and it's assuming basically right at DASI is where we need to start a 3-degree glide slope to hit shrimp at 3,000 feet. Comanche is a little bit of a slick airplane. Sometimes you want a bit of a shallower glide. Helps keep the power on so you're not cooling the engine quite as fast. But for our purposes today, it'll be fine. See, I switch over to plate view, and we're on the plate. About 2 minutes to our descent points. Good time to clean up the descent checklist. Comanche's pretty simple. We're going to verify we have altimeter set. Check that any passengers who might have taken off their seatbelts and cruise put their seatbelts back on. And we're going to brief, which is basically we're expecting the RNAV Yankee runway 33 to a full stop, Charleston. Starting to get our anticipation for the turn to 064. And the turn. Waypoint's gone, so we're established. Cut to 1800 manifold pressure, start our descent. We're going to need about 700 foot per minute down to meet that 3-degree slope. constant speed prop. As you descend, you're going to slowly gain manifold pressure. So again, you want to sort of manage that as you go down. You can slowly back the throttle off every 1,000 feet or so, trying to maintain a constant airspeed. Feet to go, just under 2 minutes to go. So again, about that 700 foot per minute descents. Work out about what we want. And here again, once I've let the engine start to cool down, I'll start backing it off a little more. Start the slow down. You can use the extend the landing gear to 150 miles an hour. That's really hard on the gear motors. So our preference is to lower the gear around 120 to 125. It's a real easy way if we're holding around 125 and capture the glide slope, put the gear down, we should be able to nose over with very little power change. Plan to fly this at approximately 100 knots or 115 miles an hour to minimums, big long runway. If we make our landing, we can put the flaps out at the end to slow down and touch down. Alright, so we're getting the prompt for 336. All this is calculated using standard rate turns. Coming on altitudes, start nose up trim to capture that altitude. That's also going to help us slow down. Glide slope's alive. All right. Are inside a shrimp, so we can continue to descend 2,000 if we want. We're just going to go ahead and capture the glide slope. So you can see our speed's coming on about right where we want it. So we're going to center up this needle and watch for that glide slope to come alive. Glide slope soon. Now's a good time for the landing check. So fuel full as tank. Mixture rich. Props forward. Landing gears coming down. Alright, gears down in green. Now, again, we should cross Gator at 2,000 feet. Per the chart, so that's a good confirmation that the approach is set up the way we expect, that everything's navigation-wise is behaving like we think it should. Somewhere in here, you'd almost certainly been handed over to the tower. Listening for your landing clearance. just letting pitch and power do the work here. I'm using a little bit of trim to capture the glide slope. No major deviations. Mild gators. Final approach fix inbound. Altitude, crossing altitude looks good, so we're looking for 2,045 feet is decision height. Again, we've been gaining a little bit of power as we've descended, so again, we're just going to back that power off a touch. Now's a good time to double check that you got 3 green, your landing gear's down. Foot to go. Coming up on what would be the minimum descent point if we were doing a non-VNAV approach. Foot to go.
$500.
200 minimums. Minimums. I assume we break out here again. What you want to be careful to do is don't dive for the runway. So again, we're on that glide slope. Keep watching that glide slope. We're going to start working the flaps in. Again, big long runway. There's no reason to dive for the runway. Approach just went into suspend. Get the rest of the flaps out. Just work our way down. You get those flaps up once you're on the ground. Clear the runway. So, hope this was informative. If you have any questions, comments, drop them in the comments. V from D&V Adventures, have a good one.